All right, so we're here at a new Schneider bulk unit. We're at the PDI Center here in Cleveland, North Carolina. So we grabbed this truck for as it's being in-serviced, and wanted to go over some of the electronics on the P4 Cascadia, talk about the ground circuits, the ground locations, and RP1226 connectors. So as you can see, we have the panels off at the electronics bay, VPDM. So we're just going to hit on some of the grounds throughout the truck, both inside the cab, outside the cab, and then under the cab and inside the frame rails. So starting here at the VPDM ground, power and ground. We also have a ground splice pack at the very bottom under the electronics bay. So again, we're using this video to help the technician, or to assist the technician if they have to contact the tech team or the training team, just using this as a supplement. So ground splice pack here under the VPDM. We also have ground splice packs center of dash. We've got the dash panels removed for make it a little easier to see. And while we're here, we'll talk about the RP1226 connectors. So as you can see, there's two RP1226. One of these will be labeled for telematics. The other one is for smart drive. Now granted, it's labeled telematics. Both of these supply the same data, so technically it doesn't have to plug into platform science. It could go to platform science or smart drive. This is just the data code the truck's ordered with. It's labeled telematics. So this is obviously a new truck. We've caught it at the PDI Center here before platform science was installed, but this is just to give you a reference. You will have two connectors, two RP1226 connectors, center of dash. PDI Center will be using one of these for the smart drive camera system that will integrate into the truck behind the VPDM. When you receive the truck at your terminal, you will have one open RP1226 connector to be used for platform science. So it's already pinned, it's populated, pre-wired. It is plug and play from a power ground ignition J1939 standpoint. Now the new trucks starting January 1, 2021 have a battery disconnect switch. It's worth noting that this is off of the cab load switch or battery disconnect switch. Telematics, smart drive, anything plugged into the RP1226 connector will have constant power regardless of the battery disconnect switch or cab load disconnect switch. So it is also worth mentioning that we do have an additional RP1226 connector in the upper console. Same rules apply. We will have this, we took it out of its little holder there just to show you, but it'll be tucked back up in the upper console. At this point, I don't believe that that's used for anything. It is for future growth. There could be some potential later for platform science or smart drive to integrate into the upper console. But for now, it's there for future growth. So we got the third RP1226 in the upper console. We got the two RP1226 center of dash. One for platform science, one for smart drive. Ground splice packs. Ground splice pack again. VPDM, power and ground. Okay, we're going to step out to the firewall of the truck. So while we're on this side of the truck over here, we'll get our flashlight so you can see this a little better. So we have the BCA mounted right here. And we're going to point out the BCA for a couple reasons. One, we see our main battery supply cable here. And then we also have another cable right here. This is for the factory pre-wired inverter. So our inverter power will come to the BCA, and then we'll show you the ground for the inverter as we work our way over to the other side of the truck. So BCA location, main battery power, inverter, factory pre-wire. Now we'll go to the driver's side of the truck. And we have Toby here with us from the maintenance training team. So we'll let Toby explain. We're going to start at ground E at the firewall.
So right here on ground E, we have our pass through our firewall. You may hear us reference this and want you to take it apart, clean it. Do use caution when taking it apart, not to damage the threads. When reinstalling, be cautious and do the proper torque specs, because they have been known to snap if we do them too tight. We follow ground E across. We will come down to our single plug.
So right here at the firewall, we got quite a bit going on right here. So we got ground E, which is a secure connection.
It's a very good tight fit, and that's what we want. Nice, good, snug fit. We want to make sure to check it for corrosion. Make sure it's nice and tight, nothing going on. Make sure you check both sides of that.
Both sides of the connector.
And it's always a good idea just to double check them and make sure they are snapped together all the way.
So we have ground I, and then we also have ground P right here, which is also the Canon style plug. So same rules apply. It's both the Canon style single wire connector. So ground P and ground I, ground E from the firewall, and then I'll let you talk about your ground junction block.
So here you can see we have our mega ground junction block. Same rules apply. We may contact you and ask you to take those apart and clean them. Make sure you do them one at a time. Keep each wire on each stud where you got it from, and make sure you do a good job cleaning. Be careful of the threads, and of course proper torquing them back as not to damage any of the studs. Now we'll go down.
So actually go over to the batteries. So at the batteries, we have our redundant ground. So we can see our redundant ground coming off of the cap skin at the bottom down to the frame rail. And we have our main battery grounds. And then obviously our battery connections. So redundant ground, you can see it there. It's a little difficult to see. It's on the bottom of the cab next to the HVAC lines, down to the frame rail.
And these are also ones that we may ask you to take apart and clean.
Yeah, so this video is just for reference on some of these ground points, critical ground points, and if you're directed to take them apart and clean them. So we're trying to call out ground E, ground I, ground P, so you can obviously refer back to the schematics, but we want to show you where those main connection points are.
And as Jason pointed out in the other video, this is not a flashlight inspection. We are using a flashlight here for training purposes. We want to take them apart.
We want to take the ground apart, check the integrity of the ground, the stud, and make sure there's no debris or overspray behind the eyelet of the ground.
Exactly.
So we will move back to while we're on the left-hand side. Oh, sorry.
We'll show you while we're here. Right on the inside of the driver's side fender well, you can see the ground on the outside of the frame here, and we'll show you the rest when we get under the truck.
So let's go to the 7-way ground. We showed you the power for the inverter. So this is the ground for the inverter. If I can get it in focus here. So that's the inverter ground, and then we also have our 7-way grounds there as well. So for any unit that has the trailer cord that comes on the outside of the cab, obviously you can see this one. We have no 7-way going through the back of cab. So for the Schneider spec, anything that's going external, 7-way external to the cab, our 7-way will ground right behind that fuel tank strap outside of the frame rail. All right, so we will move underneath.
One of our new features, the LDS, or the low voltage disconnect switch here.
So low voltage disconnect switch mounted on the back of the cab. This should be all configurations. Obviously this is a bulk unit, but all configurations should have battery disconnect switch mounted outside back of cab. All right, we will proceed to under the truck for ground I, ground P, and some other ground locations there.